How are you in this rainy Toronto afternoon, day whatever is 5 of the festival? I hope you're all having a fantastic time and seeing some very, very good films. Welcome to the Canadian premiere of Mike Leigh's Peterloo. Yes, go for it. Now, to begin with, we would like to acknowledge that this afternoon's event is taking place on the treaty territory of the Mississaugas of New Credit and the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Huron-Wendat. We are very grateful to have the opportunity to work in the community. This film is eligible for the Grosh People's Choice Award. Please vote. As you know, it's a very important award for us, and you can vote online, tiff.net/vote. We would like to thank Amazon Studios and Cornerstone Films for providing us with this film. And also a big thank you goes to the British Council for their generous support. Now, Mike Leigh has been a cheeky iconoclast since he burst on the scene in the 1970s with some very, very fine television work, films like Nuts in May and Abigail's Party. His film work, his early film work, High Hopes and Life is Sweet, confirmed his talent, and since then he has made numerous films that have won the Palme d'Or in Cannes, the Golden Lion in Venice, plus he's been nominated for the Academy Award 7 times for films like Naked, Vera Drake, Secrets and Lies, All or Nothing, and Mr. Turner. Films I know every one of you has seen, at least one of them. In my mind, these are some of the absolute essential films of the last 25 years. Now, he's always had a soft spot for the ordinary person, the working class man and woman. And some of his key films have dealt with these characters with uncommon sensitivity and insight. Now, Peterloo takes us back to one of the most famous incidents in British working class history, the Peterloo Massacre of 1819, a moment when the working class began to speak out for their rights. As always, Mike has made a smart, intelligent film full of insights and drama, bringing to the screen this very overlooked incident close to its 200th anniversary. Please join me in welcoming the producer, Georgina Lowe, and the director, Mike Leigh.
So much. Thanks so much indeed. We're really thank you to the festival for inviting us. We're really thrilled to be here and to be sharing the film with you. Thank you to our financiers, to Amazon, to the BFI, to Film 4 and to Lip Sync. We're really thrilled to be here today and hope you enjoy the film. And here's Mike.
As you may know, I think directors making long speeches before their films is a heinous crime, and anyone that does it should be taken out around the back and shot through the head. On that basis, I don't have much to say. This is a film where we feel that we've moved on and embraced other things that we haven't before in our films. I would just only say that once we decided to make this film, some 4 or 5 years ago, just after Mr. Turner, and then we embarked on preparing it, we found ourselves saying to each other on a daily basis, pretty much, how prescient and relevant increasingly it seemed to be, even though it's a historical film. So with that thought lurking about somewhere in your minds, enjoy it, or not, as the case may be. And we'll see you at the end. Thank you.
Now, before we go to the audience for questions, I'm wondering if you can tell us about the origin of the project, and specifically I'm curious as to whether or not telling the story of the Peterloo Massacre was something you've wanted to do for a long time.
Not really. It only... No, that isn't to say I didn't want to make the film, which is why you're laughing, but we did want to make the film, and we did make it. No, actually, it's not a long-nurtured idea. It only really occurred to me after we made Mr. Turner, didn't it? obviously I've known about it for quite a long time. Not as long as you'd think, because although I grew up in Manchester, I and a lot of people who grew up in that area didn't actually really know about it. It was peculiarly a well-kept secret, even though it's not that long in the past. But once having got the idea of making the film, which was about 4 or 5 years ago, just after Mr. Turner, as I said at the beginning, it seemed to become a relevant thing to do, really. But it's not a long-held desire, really.
Well, let's go right to the audience for questions. I wouldn't be surprised if we have some. Yes?
I, like many people, had never heard of Peterloo, and you featured very prominently reporters from many papers. I'm wondering what was reported at the time, and what were the reactions of the public, if any?
It was very widely reported. It was very thoroughly reported. I mean, when the man from the Times says, I'm going to get it out in 2 days' time, he did. And there was actually, the government was worried because there was widespread reaction to what had happened. And it quickly became known as the Peterloo Massacre. And in a way, the feelings about it resonated for a long time, right through the 19th century. It, as was mentioned earlier, it led to a new radical newspaper being founded in Manchester called the Manchester Guardian, which is still the Guardian of today. It took quite a long time for the first Reform Act that made voting available for more people. It was still 13 years away. But the actual massacre itself aroused a great deal of public indignation, and there were some people in power who wanted to have an inquest, and that was resisted by the government and so on. It was a very complicated reaction, but it certainly wasn't it was a very publicized event in the 1820s.
More questions? Yes, on the side there, please. So the question is for Georgina, having worked with Mike for at least 25 years, what kind of changes you've noticed over that time?
We've got older.
Well, you might have got older, but I haven't.
Yeah, my first film with Mike was Naked in 1992. So, in fact, we've still got creative HODs and crew members that have worked with us on all of the films since then. So it's sort of, we've evolved in a way, I guess, but we've just sort of tried to get more ambitious as we've gone along. And after Mr. Turner, Mike wanted to take that experience and do something even more challenging, and that's what we did with Peterloo. I don't know, I would say that's the only...
Yes, I suppose, I mean, well, there are two things I would say to your question, given that you put it to Georgina. I mean, if it weren't for her producing, we couldn't make a film like this, because it's very, very well produced, which is to say, she really is an incredible organizer, but she never imposes on it. She knows how to protect me and everybody creative, but at the same time, she knows how to handle a budget. All those things that proper creative producing is, are not the kind of producing which does exist in the movie world, of producers who really wish they were the director and are trying and impose on it and screw it up and generally make a pig's ear of the whole thing. And she is very much not that. But the other thing is that, speaking personally, of course, yes, we get older, and get more experience and things, but also, as for any artist, as your working life goes on, so your life goes on, and your perspective on things, perhaps, I suppose, changes in the sense that I would like to think it matures and you see things in a fuller way or just with experience or whatever. And those things I've been able to bring to the films because of the way we've been able to work and collaborate with very intelligent and creative and sensitive and friendly people.
I think I saw another hand. Yes, please.
And the what?
Question is about the connection between the massacre and the Chartist movement.
Well, only that there will be no doubt that anybody in the Chartist movement would look back to, not only look back to the massacre as being in their received experience, political experience, but actually one of the things that the film doesn't refer to and doesn't deal with, because I felt it would be too much and it would be too cumbersome, is before the period of the film. In other words, in the last years of the Napoleonic Wars, which of course ended with the Battle of Waterloo, were the so-called Luddites, the people who saw that the invention of new and ever more sophisticated machinery in the mills would put people out of work, and so they went around smashing up machines. And this was put down very violently by the government. It was repressed, and people were hanged and all, on quite a large scale. Now that too would be regarded as part of the Chartists' received history. The Chartists, by the way, were the movement for reform some 25 years later than this. But of course the event that, and this is referred to in the film, the event that most particularly stood in everybody's received recent memory was the French Revolution. And the French Revolution, of course, was a great, as you see in the film, a great inspiration to radicals and scared the living daylights out of royalty and people in authority who were frightened that it would happen in England, which of course, curiously, it never did. Maybe it will soon.
More questions in the back corner, yes? Why was it important for you to tell the story of the massacre?
Well, I would throw the question back at you. Where are you, the questioner? I mean, did you... where are you? Oh, yeah, there you are. Do you feel, you, the questioner, do you feel that it has any resonance for you at any level in terms of the world we live in?
So she commented that the massacre sequence towards the end was so difficult to watch that she even turned away, and so it did have quite the impact on her. But she's wondering specifically, as a man from Manchester, why it was important for you to tell this story.
So, ask it again.
As a man from Manchester, why it was important for you to tell this story.
Well, it's not relevant that I'm from Manchester, though I am. The story is about democracy, and it's about... I mean, I don't really like ever to... reduce the film to very simple... there are a lot of things going on in the film, and I deliberately conclude it in a way where such as will leave you engaged with your emotions, your feelings of sympathy, sorrow, anger, and so on. But the question is why? What of all these things do you feel about it? I mean, it was iniquitous what happened. I don't think you're asking why the massacre happened, are you? You're asking why I think it's important to make a film about it. Is that what you're asking? Is that it? Well, here is democracy in action. Here is a genuine hopes that come out of genuine things of people's lives that are dealt with in this destructive, chaotic, blind, insensitive, self-serving way by people in power. And all of those things remain resonant as far as I'm concerned.
And with that note, we're actually out of time. I'm sorry, but thank you so much for coming to the film. Don't forget to vote for the Grolsch People's Choice Award. Thank you so much, Mike Leigh and Georgina Lowe, for sharing your film with us here in Toronto.
Thank you very much. Thanks very much. Well done.